On June 17, 2015, Emmanuel African Methodist Church welcomed 12 attendees for their Wednesday Bible study. Among them was an unfamiliar face, a white man named Dylann Roof. Unbeknownst to the congregation, Roof had sinister plans to incite a race war by targeting African Americans. Dylann Storm Roof was born on April 3, 1994, in Columbia, South Carolina. His parents went through a divorce but briefly reconciled around the time of his birth. His father, Frank Bennett Roof, worked as a carpenter, while his mother, Amelia Cowell, was a bartender. He grew up with two sisters, an older half-sister named Amber and a younger sister named Morgan Roof. At the age of 5, Roof's father married Paige Mann in November 1999. Unfortunately, Frank subjected Paige to physical and verbal abuse, leading to the end of their marriage 10 years later. As a child, Dylann was known for his introverted demeanor and displayed compulsive behaviors, such as an obsession with cleanliness and a specific hairstyle. He engaged in typical childhood activities like playing video games, spending time with family, and attending church. As he grew up, Roof's family relocated frequently within South Carolina, and he moved back and forth between living with his mother and father. He attended 7 different schools in 9 years. During this time, he was polite and treated everyone the same, regardless of their race. However, Roof repeated the 9th grade twice due to struggles in classes and spent most of his time experimenting with marijuana and other drugs. In 2010, he stopped attending classes altogether, focusing on drug use and video games. He later enrolled in an online school but dropped out before eventually obtaining a JIT. Around this time, Dylann lived with a close friend named Joseph Meek, and they partied and used drugs together. He also had an African-American best friend named Christian Scriven. Roof's racial views took a turn in 2012 after the Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman incident. For reasons unknown, Roof began researching black-on-white crime, and, after finding several cases highlighting such crimes, he developed the belief that blacks were taking over the world and needed to be stopped. He began planning how to start a racial war and reportedly informed friends and neighbors of his intentions to harm people, including a potential attack on the College of Charleston. However, his claims were not taken seriously. Over the next few years, Roof kept his ideologies hidden from those who knew him in real life, instead communicating online with other white supremacists and frequently posting on white supremacy websites like the Daily Stormer. On February 28, 2015, security personnel at Columbia's Columbiana Center Mall alerted the police regarding an individual dressed entirely in black, identified as Roof, who raised concerns by posing unsettling questions to mall employees. When questioned by the police, Roof agreed to a search, during which they discovered multiple strips of Suboxone in his possession. Suboxone is a prescription medication used to treat opioid use disorder, but is often sought recreationally by those seeking an opioid-like high. Roof's lack of a valid prescription resulted in his arrest on a misdemeanor drug possession charge and a 1-year ban from the mall. Several weeks later, one of the officers who had arrested Roof at the mall recognized him while he was loitering in his parked car near downtown Columbia. A search of Roof's vehicle revealed an AR-15 foregrip and 6 unloaded magazines capable of holding 40 rounds. Roof explained to the police that he intended to purchase an AR-15, but he was not charged as owning a foregrip was not illegal in South Carolina. On April 3rd, Roof's father gifted him money for his 21st birthday to buy a firearm. 8 days later, Roof attempted to purchase one and succeeded only due to a lapse in his background check process. The employee responsible for investigating Dylann's criminal history at the gun store failed to do so within the federally mandated 3-business-day period. Consequently, Dylann was able to buy a .45 caliber Glock handgun with no complications on April 16. Another encounter with the law took place on April 26, 2015, when Roof was arrested for trespassing at Columbiana Center Mall, resulting in an extension of his ban from the mall by 3 more years. In the weeks leading up to the shooting, Dylann visited the Charleston area and scoped out the church on at least 2 occasions. A week before the shooting, he confided in his friend Joseph Meek about his plan to carry out a mass shooting at an African-American church with the hope of inciting a race war. Joseph's response to this information remains unclear, but he did not report Dylann's intentions to the police. Around 8 p.m. on June 17, 2015, Dylann headed to the Emmanuel African Methodist Church, coinciding with the commencement of their Wednesday night Bible study. Upon entering the church, he took a seat among 12 others who greeted him warmly, accepting him as part of their group despite his non-African American background. The congregation engaged in discussions on Bible scriptures and shared moments of laughter. Remarkably, the church's pastor extended the courtesy of seating Dylann beside him to ensure his comfort and welcome. Dylann himself later confessed that he briefly contemplated not proceeding with his violent intentions due to the kindness he experienced from those present. However, roughly an hour into the Bible study, as the attendees closed their eyes and bowed their heads in prayer, he suddenly stood up and retrieved a firearm from his fanny pack. He then aimed the weapon at 87-year-old Susie Jackson. In an attempt to defuse the escalating situation, Susie's nephew, Tywanza Sanders, attempted to reason with Dylann, questioning his motives for attacking churchgoers. Dylann responded with disturbing statements, claiming, "I have to do it. You assault our women, you're taking over our country, and you have to go." He then explicitly expressed his intent to harm everyone present. Sanders selflessly positioned himself in front of Susie as Dylann began firing, becoming the first victim. Roof continued firing rapidly at the others while uttering racial slurs. Reportedly, he also taunted them, saying, "You all want something to pray about? I'll give you something to pray about." During a reloading pause, Daniel Simmons Sr., who typically carried a gun to church but had left it behind that day, attempted to escape. Roof noticed him and responded by firing 6 shots at him. Some survivors pretended to be deceased on the floor, allowing Sanders' mother and his 5-year-old niece to survive the shooting. Subsequently, Dylann approached Polly Shepard, who was praying aloud, and instructed her to be quiet while asking if he had shot her yet. Her response was negative, to which Roof replied, "Good, because I need someone to survive and tell the story. I'm going to shoot myself." It's reported that Dylann attempted to point the gun to his head, but he ran out of ammo. At 10:44 a.m., Roof was apprehended and taken into custody during a traffic stop in Shelby, North Carolina, approximately 245 miles away from the location of the shooting. Inside his vehicle, officers discovered the same .45 caliber pistol that had been used in the shooting. Additionally, 2 handwritten notes were found in his car, one addressed to his mother and another to his father. Roof was subsequently arrested and subjected to interrogation by FBI agents. During this interrogation, he displayed a disturbing demeanor, laughing and confessing to the shooting. He acknowledged that he targeted the church due to its significant role in African American history. When informed that he had killed 9 people, Roof initially disputed this with the agents, suggesting a lower number. However, he expressed remorse upon learning the true toll of his actions. On August 4, 2016, while in jail, Roof was assaulted by another inmate named Dwayne Stafford. Although Roof sustained hits and bruising to his face and body, he did not suffer severe injuries. Remarkably, the following night, Stafford was released on a bond exceeding $100,000 after public support rallied behind him, spurred by news of his assault on Roof. Astonishingly, Roof and his attorney chose not to press charges against Stafford. Dylann Roof entered a not guilty plea to 9 murder charges, a weapons charge, 3 attempted murder charges, and federal hate crime charges. Initially, he had planned to plead guilty, but his lawyer advised against it, as they were uncertain at the time whether prosecutors would seek the death penalty. In September 2015, it was officially announced that the state would pursue the death penalty, and in May 2016, federal prosecutors made the same determination. This unprecedentedly made Dylann Roof the first person in U.S. history to face both state and federal death penalty charges simultaneously. On January 10, 2017, Dylann Roof received a death sentence for his federal crimes, while the state sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole on April 10, 2017. Roof later attempted to appeal his death sentence in 2020, citing mental illness as a factor. However, his appeal was ultimately denied. He has since been transferred to death row at a facility primarily housing male inmates awaiting execution under the federal government's jurisdiction.